When we talk of authentication, it's important to mention authentication protocols. What is a protocol? Remember, this is a way to govern how digital communication takes place. So how should authentication occur? What are the rules for authentication to take place? We will look at authentication protocols and authorization protocols. So these are processes to verify the identity of a user trying to access a resource. How do we go about that? Which processes do we use? So these protocols are used to ensure that only authorized individuals are granted access. It's not everyone who can be granted access, but you have to be authenticated and authorized into the systems. The most common authentication protocols, you have Kerberos. Kerberos uses digital tickets to verify identity of users, and we will get back to this. You have SAML, Security Assertion Markup Language. It's often used for single sign-on federation. You have OpenID. OpenID provides authentication and single sign-on. Now, authorization protocols define the methods to grant or deny access to authenticated users. So you have to be authenticated, then it grants you access. And the most common one is OAuth. OAuth allows users to grant third-party apps access to their resources without necessarily having to share their passwords. For example, you can give access to Spotify without sharing the password. I will take a look at that. So this is commonly used for token-based authentication. If you see a question that mentions token-based authentication, then OAuth is probably the answer. Let's look at these four protocols in detail. First, we mentioned Kerberos. What is Kerberos? Kerberos is a protocol that uses tickets for authentication. So it is a system that helps secure user logins and access to network resources using digital tickets. Imagine you're visiting different buildings in a university campus. When you enter the campus or you log in, you get a campus pass, in this case, a ticket. You show this pass at each building or in the network, a network resource to gain entry without having to sign in each time. So the campus pass has a time limit and works only within the campus. Similarly with Kerberos, the digital tickets, you use that to authenticate with different systems, network resources, and it has a limited time. So that's one way the authentication protocol works. Next, you have SAML, Security Assertion Markup Language. This is a way to pass information about a user between two parties, typically between an identity provider and a service provider. Think of it like a letter of introduction. Imagine you want to enter a club, but instead of showing your ID card or your driver's license, you bring a letter from your university. This confirms who you are. In this case, the university is the identity provider, and the club is the service provider. So the club trusts the letter from the university and lets you in without asking for further proof. It's just like you're working for a company that uses Microsoft 365. And when you log in into Office 365, you're redirected to your company's login page. Once you log in, you're automatically redirected back to Office 365. This is SAML in action because both Office 365 and your company login page trust each other. Next, you have OpenID. OpenID is a way to use a single set of login credentials like a username and a password to get access to multiple websites. So imagine you have a Google account. With OpenID, you can use your Google account to log in into other websites like a blog without needing to create a new username and password for each site. It's like using your library card in your school to borrow books from different other libraries. And you can use your Google account to log in into a third-party application. When you click login with Google, you're using OpenID. And finally, we mentioned OAuth. So OAuth is a way to grant third-party applications limited access to your information without sharing your password. For example, imagine you want to let a photo printing service access your Facebook or Instagram photos to print them. Instead of giving the photo service the photo printing service your Instagram password, you just use OAuth. You grant permission to access your photos, but they don't have your password. It's like giving someone a key that only opens the door to your photo album and nothing else. Or another example, if you want to share your Spotify playlist on a music app, you click connect to Spotify, and then the app will ask access to your playlist, and then you grant access to your Spotify playlist without sharing your passwords. That's OAuth in action. One more protocol to mention here is LDAP. LDAP is commonly used to query a directory and to modify a directory. So that's a database that stores information about users and services. This is a little bit what it looks like. You usually have names, full names, email, etc. So LDAP, for lightweight directory access protocol, is also used to authenticate users against a directory. So users have their usernames and all their information in a directory, and LDAP is used to query those users. Make sure that the name, usernames, and passwords and all correspond. So you have an example here of James who is trying to connect to the LDAP servers, and you have email servers, user accounts, and more. What happens if he says, I need the emails of everyone in accounting, and he submits a request, then he gets the emails of people in accounting. Very high level illustration, but that's a little bit how it works. And a few more terms here, you have interoperability. So this is used to ensure that different IAM systems and apps can work together seamlessly. Attestation is a process of verifying that a user or a system meets certain security requirements, certain minimum security requirements. So you are attesting that a user or a service meets specific requirements that you have set beforehand.
All right, guys, that concludes our course for today. Let me know what you think. Hope you enjoyed it. And make sure to follow us on all our social media platforms, which includes YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Of course, do not forget to order our awesome Amazon flashcards that you can get for just $15, and they're awesome because they help you study.